Randy Travis has released a second single. Randy Travis releases his second AI song, Horses in Heaven. The Country Music Hall of Fame member who suffered a stroke in 2013 dedicated the song to victims of the Washington, D.C. plane crash. I hope it brings some comfort to those of us hurting. The ballad, written by John Randall and Matt Nolan and created with the help of vocal AI, finds the country singer intoning, "There are horses in heaven, so I bet that God's a cowboy, heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat." Last year, and in a previous episode, I mentioned this, Travis released his first new song in more than a decade. Where that came from. It was co-written by country veteran John Scott, Cheryl, and Scotty Emmerich, and it created considerable excitement and curiosity from country fans as how it was created, because Travis has been mostly unable to sing or speak since suffering a near-fatal stroke in 2013. And so where that came from was perhaps the very first artist-sanctioned commercially released song to feature their own artificially generated voice. The song later landed on the Billboard Country Airplay chart, making Travis's first radio charting song in about 20 years. And if you remember how this is done, they laid down the basic tracks, all real musicians, to the song, and they had another vocalist come in and sing the parts. And then AI had been scraping all of the Randy Travis albums and songs and came up with a model basically of Randy Travis's vocal qualities that they layered on top of what this other vocalist had laid down. So then it identified all these frequencies and made it sound like Randy Travis was singing the parts. And then the engineer would go through and add maybe vibrato, try and cut and paste a little bit in the style that Randy Travis might sing in, is AI generated. So if anybody listened to Paul McCartney on the SNL 50 show that was just a couple weeks ago, now Paul McCartney doesn't sound like young 19 or 22-year-old Paul McCartney. But could he release a song after training AI to scrape all of the early Beatles songs and come up with a new Paul McCartney song that sounds like him when he was in his 20s rather than his much later days that he is now? And which leads me to another article, a follow-up, is that if you remember, the Beatles Now and Then was nominated for a Grammy, and it did. It won. The Beatles Now and Then won the Grammy Award for Best Rock Performance at the 67th Grammy Awards. And this was a little bit different in the use of AI. Essentially what the machine learning does, recognizes someone's voice, even if you and I have a conversation and we're in a crowded room, there's a piano playing in the background, we can teach the AI what the sound of your voice, the sound of my voice, and it can extract those voices. This process is called demixing, separation of vocals from the music and any other sound from a recording. So when it came to this song, which historically is the first AI-assisted song, at least publicly acknowledged AI-assisted song, to win a Grammy, in this case, nothing was artificially or synthetically created. It simply was able to isolate John Lennon's voice, that they could then clean it up and then add music on top of his voice and create a song from it. And in this case, John Lennon's voice, it would still be copyrightable because it's his performance. So all they did was clean up the audio, basically. And of course, Paul McCartney has since come out very strongly against the use of AI to create AI generated music. He and Elton John both. feel like that's going to rip off musicians and artists and things like that.